think over this last week since Queen Elizabeth died, I've been very conscious of how we're living through a very particular moment in history. One of those times that people will look back on and speak of how historic these weeks were. And for me, that's not just been because it was the death of a sovereign who reigned for such a long period of time. The 70 years representing the longest monarch in British history, but the second longest in the history of any nation. For me, it's been more about what I've heard of people speak of her amazing virtue of service, her incredible dedication to the duty that she assumed those 70 years ago. We've seen so much of those clips where she undertook that promise to serve people, and we've been aware of how she has seen that through consistently over that 70-year period. Even up until 2 days before she died, that incredible photo of her standing and greeting the new Prime Minister of Great Britain. She saw it through to the end, as she had dedicated herself to do. And for me, as I've thought about that, I've realised what an incredible evangelist the Queen was. There'd be very few people who have listened to her broadcasts, say at Christmas or at other times, that wouldn't have been aware of the ways in which she spoke of her faith, not just as a responsibility to govern the Church of England, but in a way that was very meaningful about her own personal sense of faith in God and in Christ, and of being a follower of Jesus Christ. How often she would speak of the strength and the hope that she found through her faith, and especially when she and her nation had faced particular difficulties and challenges. And through the COVID time, she's often spoken of that. And so for me, I've been impressed as I've thought about it by the way in which the Queen was able to do it in a very unthreatening way. Nobody would have ever felt that she was being preachy, or would have felt overwhelmed by the sense of somebody trying to talk them into something that they maybe didn't want. But she simply owned her faith and was real about it and spoke of the difference it made in her life. Got me thinking again about whether that's something that we naturally do. Whether we do find it in ourselves when we're speaking of, say, the challenges of life, about how our faith is meaningful to us and helps us and guides us and strengthens us through things. I sometimes wonder whether we're people that are even prepared to admit to others that when we talk about our weekends, that, of course we went to church on Sunday. There's that reticence in us, sadly, often, to speak of the hope that we know through our faith in Jesus Christ. And for me, the Queen has modelled that wonderfully. So I want to celebrate that about her life, not only the virtue of service, but that she found that in Christ and was able to speak of that as a follower of the one who himself came not to be served, but to serve. I hope that following that example, we might not only give ourselves in the service of others, but we might also find the courage to speak of the faith that enables us to do so. May Queen Elizabeth rest in peace and rise in glory and live forever in the presence of the God whom she has served her whole life.